Hi everyone, Brian from Bear Bull Traders here. It is the weekend, October the 18th. Hope everyone's having a good weekend out there. This is, of course, the weekend video. We'll take a look at what happened last week in the markets, and then we'll take a look ahead, see what we got coming up this week. Not much economic data with the U.S. Government shutdown, but there are some earnings that'll be of interest, so let's get down to it. All right, so starting out with a quick week in review, market indexes ended the week. Positive note, there was some volatility, but carried over from the previous week, primarily driven by those trade tensions with China and the export controls on rare earth elements, more threats of tariffs, although they did back down on that after a while. Some of the regional banks this week caused some heartburn with the markets. Comments about loan losses and potential fraud issues. But you can see here how we ended the week. The technology sector came back pretty well, and so did the small caps. So about 2.5% gain on both of those, but all the indexes ended up on the week. Real estate and discretionaries, largest gainers as we get hopefully lower interest rates coming, and financials and healthcare, they gained the least on the week, but pretty much every sector was in the green. So positive note there. Treasury yields down a little bit more from the previous week, and both on the 2-year and the 10-year, and the dollar weakened a bit as well with the lower treasury yields. And Bitcoin took a bit of a hit here last week, about 112. This week trading around 107,500 or 107. And we'll see if it can find some support there, but we'll look at that chart in a minute. So that was your week in review. So just taking a pause here, as always, like to do a quick plug for my books that are available on Amazon. Of course, this is a swing traded video, and these are some of the strategies that I use for swing trading. I cover in these two books, How to Swing Trade and Profiting as an Active Trader, so you can check those out. And also I've got an options trading book, my latest book. Came out and covers A to Z with options, and also some day trading options if you're interested, but swing trading, day trading, all the strategies that you can use to trade options. So they are available on Amazon in all 3 forms, hard copy, audio, and e-version. So check those out. And let's get back and take a look at some indexes. Okay, so let's do a quick run through on the indexes here, starting with the 2-year and 10-year treasury yields. You can see here right on the 2-year, we're right down at the bottom where we've been bouncing off before. And as far as the rate cuts go, October 29th is the next Fed meeting, and pretty much Fed Watch Tool giving it a 99% plus chance that we are going to get at least a quarter point cut there. And even looking into the December meeting, probably another 96% chance that we are going to get another cut there. So pretty much looking like we're definitely in for some rate cuts as we get into the rest of the year here. 10-year again down near some areas that we've had prior support, and yeah, so probably heading lower on those yields. These indexes are all going to look pretty much the same, like a bit of a pennant here. We had the big sell-off last Friday. We've had a bunch of inside days ever since, and sort of trading in a bit of a range here, and it's going to be a theme as we go through these indexes. So you can see after that big drop on last Friday, tariff terrors, and we've now again put in an inside day on the Qs, or an inside week, and SPY, pretty much the same thing. You can see here I drew a pennant on this one because I thought it was kind of interesting. It does look like we are just trading in a very narrow range, and I'm be looking for a break, possibly back up to the through the upside next week, as long as we don't get any more sort of negative news headlines. And so that's kind of interesting on all of the indexes except the IWM, which really sold off pretty hard on Thursday and really didn't get much of a comeback there on Friday. And I guess some concerns about those regional banks, possible loan losses. Jamie Dimon saying something about cockroaches. You know, when there's one, there's usually more. So some of these loan loss write-offs could be an issue going forward with some other banks. You can see here that even though we didn't really lose much ground last week, VIX really popped up here. It's still pretty elevated. So you would have thought after a good 2.5% gain on the SPY and the IWM on the week, you would have thought the volatility would have been down a little bit more there. So fear running a little bit higher than normal, let's say. And you can see here, looks like the dollar is continuing to strengthen. We did get some weakness there on Friday. And Bitcoin, again, trading around 107 and change. So we'll see if it can hold this area, because this is an area where there's been some pretty significant support, resistance here, and now support, and now pulling back into that area of support. So I'd be looking for a bounce next week, and if we can't manage that, that could mean that we could be dropping below 100,000, maybe into the 95,000 range there. So keep an eye. We're kind of at a critical level on Bitcoin. So that's it for the indexes. And okay, a couple of stocks that I've still got on my active watch list, still holding some of this focused graphite, and I still think, again, some of these rare earth element stocks are still going to continue to do well, because that's a theme that is not going away as the rest of the world wants to try to get away or move away from the dominant supplier, China, and relying on them. So I think there's going to be a lot of emphasis continuing on these, building out these other rare earth stocks or companies. And you can see here, gold just been on a tear, and finally getting a bit of a pullback. You see, we got one back here. So I did sell a little bit. We just got way too extended from these moving averages. Did sell a bit last week, and now we're getting a pullback. So I'm going to look to add back to my position maybe next week. This is an area that's probably some pretty significant support on GDX. Can do that on any number of the gold stocks or gold stocks that you might own. LABU still holding a little bit there. Again, getting quite extended from this moving average. I still have a little bit. I did sell some at 110, and it just continues to go up here. But again, we got really overbought here, and looking like we're going to get a pullback. I may look to add back here around 105 if we get there next week, but that would involve the market selling off more. Silver, same sort of comment as gold. We are really extended from this moving average, but again, still holding some silver. Trend is your friend, and that's it for some of the actives right now. So for potentials next week, again, I was watching this one the week before, but unfortunately, I wasn't trading very much last week. I was off doing some family stuff. I kind of missed this, what I pointed out the week before on Apple. We were kind of holding this 245 level. Friday had a nice breakout of this range that we'd been trading in, and it looks like it may go back up and retest this 260 level, but 245 looking like pretty solid support. Could sell some puts there, maybe buy some puts below it, if maybe 240s if you wanted some protection there, but it definitely looks like it's holding this 245 level on Apple. Freeport got a nice trade on it when it was back down here. Pretty much got out of it. The rest of it, we got to 44. Now we're getting a bit of a pullback here on this, pullback we're getting on a lot of the hot stocks. And looking at this area right here around 40, looks like a pretty decent area to find some support. And again, copper is going to be a big deal as we move forward and build out all these data centers. You need copper, and you need copper for power transmission as well. So I think it's still a good one. Bitcoin, again, sort of talking about Bitcoin a little bit earlier about how it's pulled back significantly. This is one way to play Bitcoin if we do get a bounce back here, liking Hive. And also IBIT. We've come into an area where there's been some prior support and resistance, and I think this is a good area. And IBIT's a good way to play Bitcoin if it does bounce, if you're not just going to play Bitcoin directly. And Tesla, last one, we've got earnings coming out this week on Wednesday, I believe. So you can see here we're kind of trading between 420 and 460. And we'll be watching for a break of one of those levels depending on what Tesla says. So I'm not going to trade it before it announces earnings, but I'll be watching those levels after it reports. And UAR, the uranium, again, pulled back, and it's pulled back to a level that's kind of interest as well. And again, uranium is going to probably be the future power for all these data centers. So this is into an area where it's broke out from. This is kind of a typical breakout, pull back and retest your breakout level. So could be a good long there as well. Okay, so wrapping things up there for the week of October 20th, you can see here there's the levels on the Dow, Q, SPY, and IWM with support and resistance levels. Economic events, again, we may not get this number and jobless claims, but understand we will probably get this September CPI data, which will be interesting on Friday, and maybe consumer sentiment here on Friday as well. So something to keep an eye on there. Some of the interesting earnings coming up this week. We got Netflix after the close on Tuesday, Tesla and IBM after the close Wednesday, and Intel after the close on Thursday. So some interesting earnings coming up this week. And as far as sort of a high level view on where I see things right now, I think gold, silver, the uranium, AI, the quantum stocks, we finally got a big pullback after that epic run to the upside. Still believe the theme remains in place, especially with gold, silver into the end of the year. So we may still need some backing and filling here on the price before we start to move up again. If that's the case, again, rare earth stocks still hot with the ongoing China dispute and really the need to diversify away from China as being the main exporter of these elements. So I think these stocks are going to continue to remain hot as the weeks and months go on here. I'd watch for announcements that may sound like companies are pulling back on AI. Mentioned this a number of times, just keep an eye out for that. And it seems like the dip buyers are still out there supporting the markets, but we'll see how things play out as we get into the remainder of earnings season. So that's it, everybody. Hope everyone's having a great weekend, as I said, and we will see you hopefully at 8 o'clock Monday morning, starting out with our pre-market show and then trading the market open at 9:30. So take care, everyone. Bye for now.